Hi, I'm Irene Tansman, author of A.B. and Arlene's Autism War. Today I'd like to talk to you about the possible Medicaid cuts and hopefully clear up some of the confusion for my viewers. First, I'm going to talk about where the bill stands. The proposed bill directs the Energy and Commerce Committee to make $880 billion cut over 10 years. This has caused a lot of anxiety for families with a loved one with severe autism and/or intellectual disability. Even though the bill itself doesn't even mention Medicaid, there is no way for the committee to make $880 billion in cuts without cutting Medicaid. However, this bill has a long way to go. Now, once the bill with the proposed $880 billion in Medicaid cuts, it's probably going to have Medicaid cuts, leaves the Energy and Commerce Committee, it will proceed through several stages before becoming law. First, it goes to the House floor. The bill will be debated and voted on by the full House of Representatives. If it passes, it will move to the Senate. In the Senate will review it, debate it, and vote on the bill. They may make amendments, which would require the bill to return to the House for approval of any changes. Then it goes to the conference committee. If the House and Senate pass different versions of the bill, a conference committee made up of members from both chambers will work to reconcile the differences and produce a final version. Then it has final approval. It goes to final approving. The reconciled bill will be sent back to both the House and Senate for a final vote. If both chambers approve it, the bill will be sent to the president, and then it goes for the presidential signature. The president can sign the bill into law or veto it. If vetoed, Congress can override the veto with a 2/3 majority vote in both the House and the Senate. It's important to note that the proposed cuts have sparked significant debate and opposition with concerns about the impact on Medicaid recipients. The process can be lengthy and contentious with potential changes and negotiations at each stage. So we need to listen closely to those who are currently monitoring the situation. Now I'd like to talk about who's going to be impacted from these cuts. The cuts affect everyone, not just those on Medicaid. These cuts will affect the people who are on Medicaid now the most, but it's going to affect everybody. Now, in the U.S., we have the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, EMTALA. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act is a federal law from 1986, requires emergency rooms to stabilize anyone who presents for treatment. Under this law, hospitals accepting Medicare must screen and treat all patients regardless of their ability to pay, citizenship, or legal status. So someone has to pay for the folks showing up at the emergency rooms. That's the folks who are on private insurance or even private pay. Our premiums will rise to pay for those folks who show up in the ER for emergency treatment. Folks on Medicaid can seek preventative care. Folks without insurance let their care go until it's an emergency. Then all of us have to pay for that extra expensive emergency care. So everyone will suffer because of the Medicaid cuts, not just those on Medicaid. Okay, so let's talk about our disability organizations. Most of our disability organizations are on the same page regarding the Medicaid cuts, but there are a few nuances regarding their positions. All of them don't want Medicaid cuts, especially block grants or anything that limits funding to the most vulnerable. There are no disagreements there. They are all doing a good job keeping us informed, especially VOR, the Voice of Reason, NCSA, the National Council on Severe Autism, ASF, the Autism Science Foundation, and PAA, the Profound Autism Alliance. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the nuances and the little differences on how the organizations see this. There is no doubt in my mind that HCBS community-based services for those with severe and profound autism and severe and profound intellectual disabilities is sadly already broken for this population. This is a system that is already malfunctioning. We have thousands of the most vulnerable unserved. We have empty Medicaid waivers, and we have many more who are underserved or inappropriately served. The system of choice that the Olmstead decision promised is nowhere to be seen. The system of Medicaid waivers is different for each state, causing a confusing, chaotic, and expensive system. Because state systems vary from state to state, no state wants the burden of serving such an expensive population and does not want their state to become a moving destination for these families. Thus, no state has the incentive to create and maintain services that we can be proud of. This is known as the race to the bottom. HCBS is not portable from state to state, and recipients must go back on a waiting list if they need to move with their families, and the wait list could be as much as 13 years. There's a huge bureaucracy that looks over state Medicaid plans for waivers and approves them. They create laws and rules that simply aren't followed the way they were intended, or simply don't apply to the severe population. Yet we know that those with the most severe autism and intellectual disabilities are not being integrated into the community. Yet integration into the community appears to be the standard, taking precedence over humane care. Now, I believe there may be some reasons that the National Council, that the reasons that I just mentioned, maybe that might be the reason that the National Council on Severe Autism believes that there must be Medicaid reform. It's because it's a failing system. But their vision is not to make Medicaid better. Their vision is to make Medicaid better, not worse. Their vision is to make it better, not worse, which seems to be where we're headed. We're headed to making it worse. By the way, I agree that we must have some sort of Medicaid reform, and we must get back to serving the most vulnerable, not leaving this group in the lurch. I personally believe that placing more Medicaid responsibility onto states is the opposite of what we should be doing. Instead, services for IDD should be fully federally funded through a streamlined single system that eliminates waivers altogether, provides choice of placements, including ICF, IID, intermediate care facilities, developmental centers, institutional care, or whatever you want to call them, group homes, shared living, self-direction, or any other innovative model of care. All models of care should have the directive to provide skill-based treatments to integrate individuals into the community, no matter what model of care they choose. I believe that this could save money, but probably not $880 billion over 10 years. The Trump administration has said that they believe that Medicaid should serve the most vulnerable. That's correct, but we don't know how they are planning to do this. You know, what they're saying, how they're planning to do what they're saying without hurting the most vulnerable. You know, that's $880 billion is a lot of money, and we haven't heard the answers yet. Now, we have to work with what we have. As parents and advocates, we do not have the luxury of choosing to deal with only our preferred political parties. We must work with both parties and take the most reasoned approach. And then we do the best we can because there's no other choice. National Council on Severe Autism is having their legislative initiative in April. Voice of Reason VOR has theirs in May. The Profound Autism Alliance goes to Washington all the time. If you can go, please go and tell your story. If you can't, try to visit your lawmakers in their local offices. Pay close attention to what the National Council on Severe Autism, the Voice of Reason, the Autism Science Foundation, and the Profound Autism Alliance, what they say to figure out what's going on. And remember that sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. I hope my video has been helpful to you, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.